Rachel. Welcome to Recovery Daily. Sorry, I almost had my outro playing already. Anyway, um, today I'm going to be talking about living in today, and what I what really was coming to mind today was being able to change my mindset to be able to focus on not only just today, but this minute, this hour, this second, depending on what I need, because sometimes I get overwhelmed by what is ahead of me. So, tomorrow I have my second vision therapy appointment, and I can't help but just feel like these are the vision therapy appointment is 30 minutes. So I haven't been since last Tuesday, and it's 30 minutes. And I just feel like, what the hell are they going to do in 30 minutes? And then I got to wait another week. Um but so, I feel like a little bit of just wanting to not commit to that, and feel like, I'd rather spend my money on a massage or something like that. But I have to really think about, what am I feeling like right now? I feel like shit right now. I really do. It was a it was a big day. I think for anybody else it wouldn't really be a big day, but there was just we had a visitor today. My daughter was here as well, and so we opened some of the windows, and just that alone is it's a lot for me. And I didn't get my nap to rest my head, so I did have some feelings of dizziness and stuff like that. So, um, therapy is my answer, and it's just such a small little piece out of my entire week that it is making me feel a lot of different feelings. And so it's important that instead of looking at tomorrow, I need to focus on today. And every hour that I'm in, especially when I am not working. So I've started short-term disability, so I've been trying to do some creative things, the podcast being one, but I've also been doing some sewing, which has turned out to be um, a talent that I might have. We'll see. We'll see if that takes off. But so I've really, when I get up in the morning, I plan my day by, probably not by the hour, but more like in sections. So in the morning, maybe I'll do some sewing, and then, I'll clean something, and then I have lunch, so you get my point. And then in the afternoon, I usually take like at least a 2 hour nap to rest my head, which really by about 11 o'clock, I feel like I need to lay down, because I start getting dizzy and nauseous, and my head starts to feel like those rubber bands. Um, so I I've really been trying to stay in what I'm doing at the moment, and it's really challenging. And I thought maybe I would um, share one of the ways that I did this in sobriety, and it might help me because I'm doing this for selfish reasons, but it might help me figure out how to do this also with my stroke recovery. So when I got sober, I went to rehab. It was like like a 1 week detox facility in Fairfax. And The first time I went, I did not take any suggestions. Um, suggestions like going to um, a therapist, going to meetings, um, stuff like that, and praying and all these things. I didn't get a sponsor, all that. I didn't do. I think I did a couple things. I just picked and chose what I wanted to do. And then I ended up drinking again. And the reason why is because I was thinking, I was being told I need to just stay in today. And I could not I could not imagine living the rest of my life without a drink. And so and folks kept telling me, like, don't worry about whether you're going to drink tomorrow, just don't drink today. And I was like, well, I, sure. I cannot drink today, but there's no freaking way I'm going to go the rest of my life without drinking. Like, I just couldn't help but just go and look at the future. And so I was like, what the hell? I'm going to drink, so I might as well drink now. So I started drinking again for about 8 months. And I shared this already, that my daughter said it's okay to try again. I went back to rehab, and that time I took all the suggestions that were told to me, and I've been sober ever since. But one thing that I started doing when I got sober the second time was I started running. I had a friend um, who agreed to run with me after work, and I've shared a little bit about this too. So we would set out for like 2 miles, maybe 3 miles, and I probably ran maybe 30 seconds at a time. And when I first got sober, I was very just spacey and unhealthy and such. And so, but over time, with her patience, I was able to start running more and more. Well, I started really enjoying that feeling. I guess they call it a runner's high. In the beginning, I didn't run long enough to feel a runner's high. I would call it a runner's low. But eventually, I did start to kind of get a taste of what that feels like. So I decided that I wanted to run a 5K. And so the way that I did that was I started run walking. So um, this took a lot of patience and consistency on my part. So I started out the first week and I ran 1 minute and walked 1 minute. Ran 1 minute, walked 1 minute. And I did that for 3 miles, 3.33 miles. And then the next week, I ran 2 minutes and walked 1 minute. Ran 2 minutes and walked 1 minute. And I did that for that week. And then the next week, I ran 3 minutes and walked 1 minute, and so on. You get it. I did that for weeks and weeks and months until I was running a 5K, running the whole time. And the way that I was able to think through this in my mind was it never failed when I got to like the beginning of the last stretch, I would say. So maybe it was the last quarter of the 3.33 miles. Um, I wanted to stop. It was too hard. I wanted to stop, and it felt terrible. Like I couldn't breathe. Breathing was just my my I didn't like that feeling of not being able to breathe, catch your breath. And so that's what would make me stop running. So I started thinking to myself and comparing it to sobriety, living one day at a time, not drinking one day at a time, not drinking 1 hour at a time, not drinking 1 minute at a time. So I started thinking about each step of my run, and I thought when I took a step, I feel okay right now, take another step. I feel okay right now, take another step. And I started mentally doing that exercise in my head for the last quarter of the 3 miles. And wouldn't you know it, I just kept running. Um, and it's sometimes, some days I was like, I'm not going to die right now. I'm not going to die right now. I'm not going to die right now. And I would just keep taking the next step until I finished. And then after I was able to do it that first couple times, um, I knew I could do it. Um, and I started running 5Ks, and I ended up running 5Ks like 4 times a week. I think like every other day or something like that. It was really fascinating that I was able to do that. And what that also reminds me of is how I said after the first couple times, after knowing I was able to do it, I just did it, because I knew I could. So if I already did it, then I know I can do it. So just do it again. And that reminds me also of, um, in sobriety, all of the firsts that I had to go through after I got sober. Like the first time I went to a wedding without drinking, the first time I went to a happy hour at work without drinking, and so on and so forth. And once I was able to do it once, I knew I could do it again. And what I thought of when I went to that first wedding, and didn't drink, I thought, I'm okay right now. I'm okay right now. And I did it like minute by minute. I kept thinking, I'm okay right now without a drink. I'm okay right now without a drink. Until eventually I was back at home in my bed and I made it without a drink. And so for me in the beginning, that's what not drinking was. It was self-talk, and it was a lot of self-talk. And I'm still amazed, um, at myself that I was able to do that. But uh, one thing, I think I shared this already, but one thing that a therapist told me once was, have picture everything going perfectly. When you think you can't do something, or you think something's going to go sideways, imagine it going perfectly, and you're much more likely to get through it, and get through it with a lot less energy and stress than if you are what ifing, or you're thinking, I can't do it, I can't do it. Because that's what I was thinking on those initial runs. When I would get to that last quarter mile, or quarter mile, quarter 5K, whatever, the last quarter of it, I was thinking, I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, I'm gonna fall over. And but with that self-talk, I was able to do it. So I try to share that story a lot because I think it worked for me, and that's what this is all about, is talking about what has worked for me in the past and knowing that it's going to work for me again. That's why I'm sitting here sharing. I'm sharing about what worked for me when I got sober, and what experiences can I pull from that will help me get through what I'm going through right now. And so by saying all this stuff out loud, it's helping me, but I also hope that it's helping somebody else. And I've been getting a lot of feedback lately that it is helping people. So I'm just going to keep talking, because if it's helping all of us, then then that's awesome. Um, and another thing that I also have heard somewhere is that you can always start day over at any time. So, um, if you are trying to live by the minute, live by the hour, or, make these, do some self talk and I'm okay now, I'm okay now. You know, if you find yourself not okay and something goes wrong, you can start again. There's nothing saying that you can't just start again. You know, if you find yourself in one moment and you find yourself not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and whether that's drinking, whether that's having made a promise to yourself that you're not going to talk shit about other people, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're talking shit about your your neighbor or something like that, then try again next time. Just acknowledge that this is not the person that I wanted to be. So I'm going to try again and just start over again. And so I've learned that I can do that. And because I disappoint myself all the time. All the time, I disappoint myself. And in the whole scheme of things, a lot of the stuff that I deal with, if I back up and look at it, you know, we're all just trying to live. There's no guidebook for living. So what, we make a mistake. Just try again. Just acknowledge that you made a mistake and try again. So you can always start your day over, and this recovery, the reason why I post a podcast every day is because that's what this is about. It takes every day, this consistency, for me to actually uh, follow through with all of this, to follow through with the shit that's coming out of my mouth. I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm here every single day saying the same thing. Not the same thing, but you know what I'm saying. I'm encouraging the same type of behavior for myself. So, so yeah, so that's about the theme of living in today. But I wanted to talk about, just because I do have because I do have vision therapy tomorrow. I'm gonna switch from talking about living in today and talk about tomorrow. No, I what's happening tomorrow is I have 30 minutes of therapy. So what happened last time is I went into the office, and pretty much everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I went into the office the day before my appointment, so I got the day wrong. So I came in the next day, and they asked me if I had my paperwork, which no, I did not see. They apparently sent it to me in an email, so I can't check my email. So I didn't have my paperwork. So then they wanted me to fill out the paperwork in the office. Well, I can't do that because I can't look at the paperwork. So I took it home. It's still sitting in front of me unfilled out. So I have to figure out how I'm going to do that before tomorrow. Then we went back in the back, and it was really us just talking about what are the symptoms that I have and all that stuff. So this part of the podcast is more about my stroke symptoms. And uh so when I went in there, I couldn't even really focus on the lady. I had to look down at the floor, because it hurts my head. And so she ended up turning out the lights, and I still couldn't look at her. So we shut the door. I still couldn't look at her. So she stood about 10 feet away from me, and then I could look at her, and it didn't hurt my head. So we talked a bunch, and then we did this one activity where I watched this circle go around a black TV screen, and it went slow enough. It was like a snail's pace, like clouds floating by overhead, like super, super slow. And so I followed it one time around the screen and I was able to do that. So that's all that happened. Um, in my previous therapy that I had been going to, it was like preschool where I got to play puzzles and I got to play cards, and they did like some tracking activities with my eyes and stuff like that. And it turns out that the stuff that the activities that they were doing with me at the first therapist um weren't really focused on the actual thing that I was diagnosed with. So I need to focus on vergence, which is convergence and divergence, and tracking. So my eyes cannot follow something directly or in my peripheral, it sounds like. And that's what makes it so that I can't ride in the car um, and a bike and kayak, moving things. I can't look at screen scrolling, TVs, all of the pretty much anything in life that moves. I can't look at that. And then the other thing is the convergence and divergence. So, for example, last night I looked at the moon because I wasn't sure. I figured that's pretty good distance, pretty good distance away. So I looked at the moon because I wanted to know if I saw double, and I did. There was two moons up there. So, and no, two moons is not better than one. But cha. And so, anyway, I was thinking this morning, it's like what it feels like is if you don't need glasses and you pick up somebody else's glasses and you pick up like those really really thick like glasses that one might make fun of when you're a kid, something like that. You put those on and you have this feeling in the back of your eyes and in your head. That's what my head feels like all the time. It's like it's working really really hard to do something that should be really simple. So anyway, I'm looking forward to my therapy tomorrow. It's only 30 minutes. I think we're going to do some simple activities. It's supposed to be a snail's pace, and I guess that's why it takes 6 months to a year of this to make progress. But that's my update. This podcast was all over the place. That's totally fine too, because I can do whatever the hell I want. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.